I had a jacket on me.
I know, it
Thank
started, I
you.
have that in my closet. I figured you were doing senior stuff. You were
No, I
working.
was working.
Did you dance?
I did.
Oh, okay. Josh, good. Okay, you ready?
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we please stand for the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now swear in our newly elected board member, Dirk Ravenhold, who will be finishing out the term of Kaylee McDonald.
Thank you. Ready?
I, Dirk Ravenall, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of board member of the Sweet Home Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Okay, roll call. Hunter?
Here.
Ms. Jason is excused tonight. Mr. Ravenhold?
I'm here. Can you turn your mic up? I can hardly.
Certainly can.
It's an age thing.
Have your hearing aids. Just kidding. Mr. Feldman will be joining us shortly. Mr. Leibel?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
I'm here.
Mr. Belanti?
Here.
And I am here. May I have a motion and a second to approve roll?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion and a second to approve new business, item A?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion and a second to approve personnel item, 1A?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion and a second to adjourn to the study session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're in the study session. Approval of the agenda. Do we have any comments? We'll be voting on this next week. Minutes from the previous meeting? Okay. Communications. Does anybody have any communications? I'm going to take a moment to address the recent article from the Buffalo News featuring Sweet Home. At Sweet Home, we deeply value and encourage our students' ability to express themselves. Unfortunately, the article misrepresented our mission and caused hurt by omitting key details from Superintendent Dr. Genestri. We apologize for any confusion. Graduation is a special academic celebration for all students. Our guidance allows for personalized decoration of the mortarboard, as long as it is flat and does not hang down from the sides. While it does say caps will be reviewed in advance, we have made it abundantly clear that we do not police tassels or other graduation accessories. Again, students are free to decorate their caps as they see fit, and no tassels will be removed on June 27th. Moving forward, the DEI committee will review our practices to honor Sweet Home and the academic traditions, while also allowing students individuality. We hope this clears up any confusion. Congratulations to the class of 2024, and we look forward to celebrating you on June 27th. Moving on to unfinished business, we have none. Dr. Genestri? You're up.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Battaglia. Where's the 6? Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Battaglia. A few items to update the board on. First, as we reported last week, we are extremely excited to announce that the district has won a $1.6 million grant through the EPA with help from Senator Schumer's office to convert 8 diesel buses to electric buses moving forward. I think we have a couple webinars coming up to really get the logistics and the details of this. But with the 8 electric buses that we will be purchasing with this grant, along with the 3 buses that our voters approved in May, we're going to flip more than 10% of our fleet in the next year or so to electric. So we have worked extremely hard on making sure that we meet the mandate, but also do it in a responsible way for our taxpayers. And I know district office, especially Mr. Feldman's office, has been working extremely hard to uncover every single dollar we can to mitigate the impact of this mandate. So Don, I don't know if you have any comments, but like I said, we are extremely excited to do this work and to win this award, and want to thank the senator's office.
Yeah, so just very quickly, the EPA grant, this second grant that we've been awarded, because again, the 3 buses that we are getting in May was part of the NYSERDA truck voucher incentive program. This is the EPA grant, Clean School Bus Initiative. This is round 3 of the funding. If you remember correctly, we went out the first time by ourselves. We were waitlisted. The second time we went out by ourselves, we were denied. And then this third time we joined partners with Highland Bus Fleets to be part of a regional application to allow us to partner with schools that are more high need than Sweet Home is. That allowed us to be part of a conglomerate application that resulted in the $1.6 million award. That award is from the onset. We've got about 2 years to do something from that standpoint to purchase buses. But it's something that we're looking forward to and kind of working through as we get going on.
Any questions about our EPA grants? Yes, sir.
Just again, a little review of what your presentation was, I believe, a month ago or a few weeks ago, about the busing and the purchase of electric buses. It sounds to me like you're moving towards some mandate that will eventually come from the state. Is that correct?
It's not eventually come from the
It's
state.
here.
It has come from the state.
Yeah.
So
Come.
by the time any vehicle purchased by the district beginning in the 2027 school year has to be electric or natural gas.
Does that mean they're going to obsolete or the oil generated or gasoline powered buses? Is there a market for those? Is there something we
So
can-
part of this grant, and again, to get this grant, that we do have to trade in 8 of our older diesel buses, vintage. It's about around, for this round, it's 2014 and earlier. So they have to meet a certain mileage requirement over the course of the grant time, 2 years. But this grant with the trade-in of the diesel buses, we really essentially get $200,000 a bus.
Okay, so we're trying to get a jump start on what you think is mandated somewhere in the near future. Sounds like 2027 is pretty close.
Yeah, again, it's not, it will be mandated, it is mandated.
It is
So
mandated.
by between 2027 and 2035, we have to flip our entire fleet to either electric or natural gas.
Okay. There is something I saw recently from a company, I think called Highland Fleet, which will take that whole process over.
So this is the one that we've just partnered with Highland Fleet to get this grant. So we are already partners with Highland Fleet.
Okay, so can they run that on their own outside of having us?
So we are partners with,
Okay.
they will be a critical partner for us going forward, Mr. Rabinold. We have partnered with Wendell Architects locally to help us do an electrification plan that details how to go from really ground zero to flip our fleet to entire electric buses, along with charging stations and things along those lines.
Okay.
So Highland Fleet, our current bus provider, Matthews Buses, and Wendell, along with the district in NYSERDA and National Grid, we're all partners in this, and we're all moving forward, trying to find as much funding as we can to help the district make this switch.
Okay, just to clarify, have we ever explored just jobbing the entire thing outside the district? We can lease the busing terminal, we can lease buses elsewhere and have a company just run the whole program, not have to worry about the mandates coming, they worry about it? Is there a cost study? I guess my question is, has that ever been an option we looked at?
We have not looked at that option, no.
Okay.
We've operated, we currently operate under kind of a hybrid model where we do a significant amount of our own transportation for our kids to and from Sweet Home schools. Any kind of private parochial run based upon our shortage of drivers, we do contract out. So we don't entirely do our entire run in-house. We do farm some of that out. And for those runs, that particular bus company, whoever it is at the time, will be responsible for electrifying their own buses.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Don.
No problem.
Any other questions? We also want to thank our student ACT team, particularly Cameron Smith and Demarion Stone for leading the way in our Challenge to Change 2024 event on May 22nd at Banchetti's. We had over 200 students in attendance that day, recognizing social identity, having safe conversations, and talking about how we can improve our school and our district through the student voice. And so I know it was a hugely successful day. We want to thank Mr. Baker for being our keynote speaker that day. Marquise Burton closed us out with one of his poems again, and our students got to knock down the brick wall of barriers to being who they are. So we just want to say particular thank you to Joanne Bayless, our assistant superintendent, for kind of leading the effort with our DEI committee and leading the effort with our student ACT team, but it really was the ACT team that facilitated the day's events, planned the event, ran it, emceed it, and so we were super proud of the way our students worked that day together to make positive change in our district. So thank you to all that were a part of it. I know many of board members were in attendance as well. District office was in attendance, and it's just a great day, a great celebration of who we are as a district. Mrs. Jason, I know she's absent tonight, but she did ask for an update on our clubs and variable extracurricular activities at Sweet Home. I'm happy to say that we are at pre-COVID levels for our clubs. This year, we operated 117 clubs in the 2023-2024 school district. I want to thank our teachers who have an idea and then pitch the club and then get that club accepted. Really, to have 117 clubs, that means there are a lot of advisors that are involved in making this, giving these opportunities to our students. The lists are long and varied. There seems to be a club for almost everything in our district. But the most exciting thing about this is that number one, we're at pre-COVID levels for clubs. And number two, we're slowly trickling more transportation into the mix so our students can participate in clubs and have a ride home after school. So very happy. We want to, again, thank our teachers, thank the VEA committee for facilitating this work. And know that every club is on the table again in 24-25, and hopefully that number continues to grow. I know I brought this to the attention of the board last week, but the Board of Regents is considering major changes to athletics with the purpose of opening more sports to more athletes in all school districts throughout the state. Currently, there is a 60-day comment period taking place for the regulations, and I know the board has the regulations with them. They are intended to provide athletes of all genders equal opportunities to plan and participate in extracurricular class activities, promote equality between separate male and female athletic programs, and encourage mixed gender sports teams. The regulations are intended to establish, requirements to participate on a team must be the same for all genders for any inter-school athletic competition, intramural or extramural extra-class athletic activity in any sport, including a sport where there might be a heightened risk of student athletes' safety. So I will be meeting with Mr. Schumo tomorrow. These are the proposed changes that might be voted on in September by the Board of Regents. But I'm going to meet with Mr. Schumo tomorrow with Mr. Feldman. We're going to talk about making sure that we have procedures for student athletes and how they make a team and that they're consistent across the board in anticipation of some of the changes that may be coming. And I hope the intention of these changes is to open up more opportunities for students to participate in athletics. So we'll be monitoring very closely, and we will, if anybody's interested, provide the initial proposed changes to anybody that wishes to see them. But right now there is a comment period open. I also want to thank,
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Just gonna piggyback on.
Yeah.
Sorry. Piggyback on that a little bit. I saw something again on the news, local news recently. The Board of Regents is now going to change graduation requirements. Sounds like they're going to downplay Regents diplomas and add some other things that are kind of, from my view, a little scary.
Yep.
But so there's a lot of stuff coming out of
Yes.
state ed kind of going down this one particular path. But anyways, okay.
We did have a superintendent meeting 2 weeks ago. And we did have a member from state ed present to us. There will be recommendations coming from the Blue Ribbon Commission to the Board of Regents. Some of those changes could be a change in how Regents exams are administered. But there's more. It's opening up CTE pathways for students, opening up different pathways than just the Regents pathway, and making sure that there is a pathway for everybody in schools. So most of them, I think, are positive and work that's been talked about for years and years and years. But we're waiting to see what the final recommendations are.
Thank you.
I want to thank New York State Assemblyperson Karen McMahon. We received word last week that she will be facilitating a $25,000 grant award to the district. That award is going to help fund after-school programming for our McKinney-Vento students. McKinney-Vento is the federal law that oversees homeless students in our district and how they are supported. And so there are many homeless students in our district classified under the McKinney-Vento law. And we do provide after-school programming for those students. And this award will go a long way into making that happen. So again, thank you, Assemblyperson Karen McMahon, for your efforts in securing that grant for Sweet Home. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the Shays held their award ceremony for high school musicals throughout the regions, and Sweet Home was a big winner. I would like to congratulate Senior Derek Woodford, who was named an all-star cast member, Senior Ariana Minhas, who was the stage semifinalist, and we received the award for outstanding costuming and execution. I want to thank Dr. Adams and Mrs. Williams for overseeing costume and execution award. If you got to see the Adams Family, it was an outstanding production. It was also great to see it in our new auditorium with the new lights, the new sound system, and it just really enhanced the students and what they were able to do on stage. So really proud of that performance. and really proud that we're offering a stage and a theater that is worthy of all the work that goes into making a high school musical. So congratulations, Derek, Ariana, Miss Adams, Dr. Adams, Mrs. Williams, for your efforts and recognition,
Entire cast and crew.
and the entire cast and crew. Great job. It has been reported to the district. I think that we said we had since my time in the district, 17 or 18 different audits of our practices and policies in Sweet Home in a short 3-year period. While all of those audits have come back clean, there's always a recommendation or two to help us improve. And there's always seems to be a corrective action plan that we can put in place. Well, I want to congratulate Christy Sajak and her people down in our food services department, because we were recently number 18 audit since I've been in the district took place, and it came back perfect. And the practices over at our food services, that just doesn't happen. That is a first for me in my time as an administrator. And I just want to thank Christy that their department is serving over 4,000 students a day, private parochial schools as well as Sweet Home students. For that many meals and breakfasts and lunch going out of food services every single day, and our department there, to receive a perfect audit is just unheard of. So I just want to say congratulations and thank you to Christy. She's here tonight and deserves to be recognized for all of her great job. And then finally, graduation. It is June. It is fast approaching, June 27th, 6 p.m. UB Center for the Arts. We have 272 graduates right now, slated to go across the stage on that Thursday night. It is a celebration of what we are and who we are at Sweet Home, and we can't wait to honor Hunter and all of his fellow classmates that night at UB. So that slide will be up again next week at our meeting, and just want to say congratulations to the class of 2024. Finally, I think this is my last one, but shout out to our Heritage Heights teachers once again, Jill Grignali, Lindsay Perry, Mary Rayal, Debbie Zahler, Jessica Spies, and Stephanie Bickelman. They'll be traveling to Ghana this summer on an educational mission tour. They've been preparing all year long. Last time I was over there, they were all preparing to get their shots to go over to Ghana. I got word that they're going to be having dinner with the president of Ghana as well. And it's just an exciting adventure. They've done a ton of fundraising to bring supplies over to Ghana. Those supplies have been shipped over there to meet them when they get there. But to those 6 teachers who are giving up a lot of time over their summer, we say thank you, and spreading the Sweet Home way across the globe. It's just an incredible gesture on their part, and we wish them nothing but the best and success as they travel to Ghana this summer. And that is my report.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, upcoming events. We have all of our end of the year celebrations at all the different schools. In addition to the retirement celebration, we had the volunteer reception tonight, and obviously graduation. That brings us to the first open session. Per Board Policy 1510, this open session is for topics related to tonight's agenda. As per Board Policy 1510, we hold 2 open sessions at each meeting. The second session may be used to address the first session is limited to comments on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The board recognizes the importance of maintaining an open dialogue with community members. So in doing so, community members choosing to speak at the Board of Education meeting are bound to the terms outlined in this policy and must conduct themselves in a manner consistent with this policy, the District Code of Conduct, and all laws and regulations that govern the operation of the Board of Ed. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer and announce their name, address, and if appropriate, group affiliation. Non-district residents must include the name of their business or how they do business with the Board of Education. Statements should be made to the board president, not individual board members. Participants may not discuss specific individuals or issues that fall under executive session. Speakers must be at least 16 years of age and are limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may not transfer their time to another participant. The total amount of time for each public participation is 30 minutes. All speakers in this open session must state which agenda item they are speaking on. Do we have speakers tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. We'll be voting on all the new business next week. We have our class placements.
Madam Board,
Yes,
Madam President, is that proper? Madam
Sure.
President. When did you change that policy to be that lengthy?
I don't remember if it was earlier this year or late last year.
Just curious, thank you. Thanks.
Monthly financial reports will be posted. The bids for milk, juice, science supplies, art supplies, funding of the reserve funds, donations for water bottles to the athletic department, the school resource officer contract, construction manager, the proclamation of 1,105 years of service for all of our retirees. It's amazing. The district safety plan, the code of conduct, our liability insurance, and the budget transfer.
Just have one quick question.
Sure.
Mr. Feldman, about the budget transfer. I know it's a much longer list this time, and I know you've already explained it to me a little bit, but just so everybody else on the board has a little understanding of what all these things are, because it's much bigger than usual.
Sure. So I'll first start by saying that we've really kind of the last month or so kind of put more stringencies on the expense side of the budget. We've really kind of examined our spending, and we've really only kind of pushed through things that are necessary. This budgetary transfer, as you know, there's a policy that allows me to do a budgetary transfer up to a certain amount, Dr. Genestri to do a certain amount higher, and then you all need to approve the budgetary transfer, anything above $50,000. So we felt as though it was best to do this kind of as one large budgetary transfer that is detailed in quite, it's laid out in quite detail rather in your board packet. It's about $2.3 million. This is money that would have otherwise been a surplus in our budget. But it's really used to cover the costs of the new teacher retirement incentive. The contract calls for a new teacher retirement incentive for our teachers that are retiring from the district. We have 25 teachers that are retiring from the district, and based upon their sick time accrual, we're going to pay out 25 teachers, as well as one administrator and a handful of service employees. And based upon each of those collective bargaining agreements, we're going to hand out about $1.6 million worth of retirement incentives. Secondly, Dr. Genestri talked a little bit about the McKinney-Vento students. We've seen an uptick in our McKinney-Vento students. Since the start of the year, we started with about 27 McKinney-Vento students. We're up to about 46 McKinney-Vento students. And the legislation says that, that we are required to transport the kids to and from school. And just because of our shortage of drivers, those runs have been contracted out, which has resulted in about an additional $700,000 in contracted transportation that we didn't foresee. And then lastly, with our latest capital improvement project being bonded, we did see a small increase of about $280,000 in debt service. So all that together was about $2.3 million, and we felt as though that this was the best way to kind of do this so that we were transparent about what we were doing. We knew it was coming. We budgeted carefully, but we needed to move some money around to cover those expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman.
I'm going to ask just one question, Don, if I could.
Sure.
I forget the not designated fund balance, the thing that we have to
The
stay at.
unassigned fund balance.
Unassigned fund balance, thank you. Is this above and beyond that, this surplus that you're talking about?
Well, this will not, it won't be a surplus any longer because we're gonna.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So this won't be a surplus any longer because we are actually expending this money. But if it were a surplus, this would be money that we would designate into our reserve accounts. But because we are expending it, it doesn't impact the unassigned fund balance at all or our reserve accounts.
Okay, so again, you're not moving something from one part of the budget to these reserve accounts.
No, that happens in August. We'll do that in August with any other funds that we do have remaining. But this is moving money within the budget that was approved by the district residents a year ago, May. So we have a number, 96,886,588, that we need to get all of our expenses under. And this is just moving money within that budget to cover these expenses.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Good.
Okay, moving on to informational items. Hunter, you can start.
All right. Myself and Erica Chan met this morning with Dr. Janestri and Mrs. Battaglia regarding our graduation policies. Productive conversation, I would say. Understanding, district and student points of contention and clarifying those points. Besides that, provided the district with a statement signed by students and alumni regarding said policies. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ravenholt?
Well, it's good to be back, I guess. I enjoyed the little ceremony prior to this. I think about all the time and the volunteers this district has. It's really quite amazing. And try to think about what motivates them. In other words, the heart of a volunteer, the heart of our volunteers up here. It's really pretty special. So I think we have a pretty nice district. We got a good group of folks. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Leibel?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention I attended Will Ridge Leadership Day last, I believe it was last week. It may have been 2 weeks ago, but they did a really great job. Nice turnout. Having 3 kids at Will Ridge, it was a little bit of a, you have to make sure you get to every kid's classroom. So that's always a little bit of a rush. Just a great job by the students. And what's so neat about these events is they're organized and put on by the students. So that's and they just do a great job. The second thing, we had an audit committee meeting today, and that was primarily to set kind of the framework and the agenda for going forward for the next year in terms of the items and whatnot. So that was pretty straightforward. And also attended the Erie County Association School Boards, the annual dinner where, the district was recognized for its participation and partnership with Amherst. And so that was nice. And for the Northwest Amherst Community Center, which I'm sure, all of us were there. And then also Scott receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award. And as I mentioned, I couldn't think of a better person and more deserving because, I'm not sure how much the public's aware of this, but Scott does a significant amount of work, has been on the board for a long time, and this brings a lot of history and perspective with that history. So congratulations, Scott.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
The other thing I just wanted to mention regarding, because Dirk mentioned about the statement being longer for public comment. I would say that this year we've had a lot of issues at times, and in other years, I just think it's important for the public to understand we don't comment. It's not that we're not listening or hearing. It's just that, the best practices is if we start getting into a back and forth, that's just going to extend the time. Business is not going to get done. But I want to assure everybody, after these meetings, we discuss all the comments we hear. We take it to heart. You know, and I think it's just important for everybody to understand that. And also, you know, I have a saying with my family and my business is don't let perfect get in the way of progress. So, you know, we understand we're not always perfect, but I think we are making progress, and sometimes we hope it's faster than it is. But you know, we are volunteers with nothing but, you know, the interests of the students in the district and our community members at heart. So, you know, I just think it's important because I know, you know, again, when we have people commenting, they sometimes, if we're not responding, it feels like, I can understand this just in my own relationships, that sometimes it feels like you're not listening, and I can assure everybody we are listening. And that's it on my end.
So even though it was very long, it wasn't supposed to be intimidating. It's really, we're really, really open for comments, if I can say that. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
I want to thank Brian for the kind words, and I want to thank the board and our administrators who are here tonight for being there with me for that celebration and to get our collaboration award for the community center. It was great. Being retired, I've had a lot of time to attend stuff, and I still haven't finished writing it up, so I'm going to defer till next week.
That sounds good. Thank you. Mr. Belanti?
I also attended the Erie County Association of School Board dinner. We will congratulate Scott again. Before the meeting, I attended the volunteer reception. We had a baseball banquet the other day at Banchetti's that worked out well for us and for the players. I just wanted to congratulate all of our spring teams, our all-league players, our all-Western New York players, our scholar athletes, which I'm understanding is quite a few, which is very good. I mean, the baseball team had 10 out of 17 players were named scholar athletes. And we had two coaches, Coach Carlson and Coach Wolas, who were named All-League Coach of the Year. So congratulations to them. That's it.
Thank you.
You probably stole your thunder.
Not quite, because the girls lacrosse team had 19 out of 20
Oh, well.
that were named scholar athletes.
No competition there.
None. The only thing, I attended a good handful of things. I also was at the board dinner where Scott was so graciously honored for his lifetime of service to this district and to these students. And we couldn't be more proud to have you as a colleague here at Sweet Home. So thank you. Other than that, I attended the Heritage Heights PTA meeting yesterday. They are in good shape, ready to roll for next year. They had all their events planning and they were ready to go. So they're good. With that said, that brings us to the second open session. Would anybody like to address the board? Please state your name, address.
Jennifer Poidock, she, her, hers. My address is 733 Edgewater Drive.
Thank you.
Just before I get started, I prepared this a couple days ago. So while some of the events may have changed since, I still would like to proceed with what I originally planned to say. Happy Pride, everybody. I am the proud mom of 3 students who have attended Sweet Home High Schools and schools. I'm here to address the board about the district being prepared for the future. The slogan for this district is every student, one community, ready for the future. Based on recent chain of events, I feel the board and administration think about how to progress our DE&I efforts to benefit every student and support one community to truly be ready for the future. Ashley had the support of most of the staff. Excuse me. For those who may not know me, I am the proud mom of 2 LGBTQ+ kids. Ashley was the first openly transgender student at the high school that I am aware of. Moth is my senior who will be graduating later this month. Ashley had the support of most staff. We are thankful for the people within the administration that were reasonable while providing accommodations that Ashley requested. Ashley graduated and was able to wear the 4 tassels, school colors, Friends Club trans, and rainbow for pride. I said Moth has had some other struggles through their times at Sweet Home since 6th grade. Mr. Baker is aware because we had a lot of conversations with him. Again, we're fortunate to have some of the support of the teachers. However, after Anthony Day left, other members of administration have maybe been less responsive, and there have been some situations that crept up that maybe weren't dealt with as best as could. We've already discussed, the public article about the rainbow tassel. But based on our experience over the past 10 years and with the most recent issues, when the students were told they couldn't wear them, the actions of the district did not demonstrate that Sweet Home is ready for every student, nor that they are indicative that they're ready for the future. It's not just a tassel, it's an outward expression of who these students are as people. It should never be referred to as an accomplishment. These kids are who they are, and they have the right to express themselves. The issue is roughly affecting 6 to 8 kids. I'm skipping that part. After requesting the explanation, I was told the board wants everything to be uniform. However, gold for girls and navy for boys is not uniform. In fact, by requiring 2 different colored gowns, the district is imposing a gender bias, is not creating a safe space who are non-binary and do not identify as male or female. This needs to change. Research indicates that GSAs decrease the likelihood of anti-LGBTQ+ behaviors and aggression in schools, increasing individual well-being and education outcomes for LGBTQ youth, as well as provide a safe space for youth to authentically be themselves and explore their identities. Participations in a GSA is related to a strong sense of connectivity within their community and improves overall safety in their environment. Regardless of whether a student is LGBTQ+ themselves, participating in their GSA is just having a GSA in your student creates the culture of acceptance. In 2019, it was reported that 86% of LGBTQ+ students were harassed or assaulted in school, and that 84% of trans students felt unsafe at school because of their gender. Not to mention that for LGBTQ+ students of color, the rates of harassment and violence were significantly higher. 2 in 5 LGBTQ+ students of color were bullied and harassed based on their race, ethnicity, in addition to their gender expression. The Trevor Project is a leading provider for suicide prevention in LGBTQ youth. In 2021, 42% of these youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, and including more than half of transgender and non-binary youth. We can combat statistics like this with our social, emotional support structures that affirm LGBTQ+ identities such as GSAs. These youth have access to space that affirm their sexual orientation and gender identity, reported lower rates of suicide attempts. All this information is available on the Trevor Project and their study from 2021. GLSEN, an American educational organization, ends discrimination, harassment, and bullying based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression to prompt the LGBTQ+ culture of inclusion and awareness from K to 12 in schools. Found that 50% of students who have a GSA in their school that have LGBTQ+ accepting peers compared to 30% who do not have a GSA. LGBTQ+ students have rights in New York State that are often unaware of at their age, and I will explain those protections to make it simple. Under GENDA, the Gender Expression Non-Discriminatory Act, discrimination based on gender bias or expression is prohibited in all areas covered by human rights law, including education. Similarly, SONDA, the Sexual Orientation Non-Discrimination Act, prevents discrimination based on actual or perceived sexual orientation to those in the same areas. Most of the important that the act protects those LGBTQ+ students is DASA, Dignity for All Students Act. All educators in New York State are required to have a DASA certification. And in public schools in our state are required to have a DASA coordinator. I'm confident that you are all familiar with this act. DASA protects students from discrimination on the basis of actual or perceived sexual orientation, gender identification, and expression, meaning that these youth have the right to refer to by their chosen name, pronouns, and use of facilities, and express themselves in a way that aligns to their gender identity. Alongside these New York State specific, there's federal clout in their favor. The Title VII of the Federal Civil Rights Act, United States of America, was passed as part of the Educational Amendments of 1972. It prohibits sexual discrimination based in any school or other education program that receives funding from federal governments. On June 15, 2020, U.S. Supreme Court held discrimination is based on the individual status of gay or transgender constitutes sexual discrimination within the meanings of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Presented with all the information above, it's illegal to deny anyone their rights. Aside from the legalities, it's imperative that with the well-being of all students that we encourage a culture of support, acceptance, and respect in our district. Many of you may be aware of my family struggles over the past 7 years. I am here standing to telling you that my family is part of that statistic. We are fortunate that we are here today. My child is non-binary and is a real person, and it has been the receiving end of bullying from students and faculty. With the faculty refusing to call moth by their preferred name, the issue was escalated and then we were defeated. The level of judgment placed by an adult who is supposed to be a role model is unacceptable. Tenure or not, the behavior is not and should not be tolerated. Reported by CNN, nearly a third or 28% of Gen Z adults in the United States identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, a larger share than older generations. And according to news reports by PRRI, a nonprofit that conducts research on religion, values, and public policy, the Diversity Committee should take steps to celebrate all the different types of people within our community. You must educate yourselves first before you can educate our kids. If our initial reaction is to freeze and not be ready to make a change, how do we move forward? If we don't get comfortable with being uncomfortable now, will we ever? The thing about allyship is it starts out as advocacy for one purpose, but quickly leads to broader discussions on taking actions and realizing the intersectionality across marginalized identities. Allyship means taking actions that others may be afraid to take on their own. It means listening, standing together, and being the person that isn't afraid to take that scary first step. Even if you are scared, it's better to take that step scared than not at all. You may think this all started over a tassel, but in reality, it's so much more. People are so much more. People should be seen, not viewed. If you aren't willing to be part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Moth Rivers, or Moth Boydock. I reside at 733 Edgewater Drive. I will not be as long-winded as my mother, but I would also like to speak a little part of my mind. I use they, them pronouns and identify as non-binary. When I came out all the way back in 2018, I was prepared to deal with the rude comments classmates would say to me. What I didn't expect is that 6 years later, the board of people meant to keep students' best interests in mind would be some of my biggest bullies. Even though I've gone by many different names over these past 2 years, two things have always been certain to me. One, I am not comfortable with my gender assigned at birth. And two, I like both men and women. So why do I tell you this? Why do I stand here today in front of you, letting you all know my life story? Because it's a defining part of who I am and my identity. I have always tried to be authentic to myself, despite what others have expected of me. I'm a senior in the class of 2024. Currently, graduation is rapidly approaching. What should be a time of celebration and excitement has been a time of frustration and disappointment. While I understand graduating is about the whole graduating class, we all still walk the stage as individuals. When I heard that the rainbow tassel would be given to us, I was over the moon and wanted to continue what my sister had started before me. However, when we learned the information that we would not be allowed to wear these tassels at graduation, waves of anger and sadness hit me all at once. I do not have any academic accolades to show off like some of my other peers, so having this tassel felt like a little part of me to show off, and it was monumental. My identity should not be something that's controversial or takes away from the uniformity of my graduating class. My identity should not be something I have to hide in others to make other people comfortable. And in your own words, Sweet Home is one community ready for the future, and queer people deserve to be represented in that one community. I will continue to protect students' rights to their individuality and advocate for equality among the student body. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Next up is personnel, teaching and administrative and service. We'll be voting on next week. If anybody has any questions. Okay, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session for matters related to the employment history of a particular individual and its student discipline? We will not be returning.
So moved.